Hi, welcome back to another segment of Veterans Did You Know? Today I have a distinct pleasure of having two individuals speaking with me. I think this is the first time we've done a threesome. I kidded that I didn't think I was going to say that on the air, but I'm going to. And on my right here is Norris Ellis, and on my left is Jesse Michaelson. And these two gentlemen they help veterans find jobs. It's through the Veterans Employment Specialist through the State of Michigan Workforce Development Agency. And Jesse works in Muskegon, and so does Norris. And Norris actually works right here at the Vet Center on Tuesdays and Fridays. And their jobs are to help vets find vets. And all I'm going to do is ask each one of you guys to kind of introduce yourselves and what's your background and how you got to where you are. And Norris, we'll start with you.
Yeah, first of all, thanks, Dave, for having me. Yeah, my name is Norris Allison, and I'm a Navy veteran. I did 30 years in the United States Navy. And after doing 30 years in the United States Navy, coming upon retirement, I was thinking about, and people was asking me, well, what do you want to do once you retire? Well, I said, simple. If I can't work for the Navy or for the government, I want to work for people who've been in the service. So that's why I'm here. My passion is to help veterans.
And those of you who have watched some of these previous shows know that I'm retired Air Force, and so I don't hold that against Norris that he's retired Navy. And it took him 30 years to figure out there's life beyond the military. It only took me 20, but I'm glad to have him here. But he does. His compassion is there, and he's a Mustang. I know for those of you in the military know that. He was enlisted, and then he became an officer. And they make the best officers. We all think that have been in the military because you know what it's like to be on the bottom in the enlisted ranks and work your way up and then be in charge of that. And so he brings just a ton of knowledge about the military to the job, and we're really appreciative to have him here. And he's, again, Norris is here on every Tuesday and Thursday at the Vet Center here, and their names are going to be up there, Friday, I'm sorry. And the numbers are up there where you can get a hold of them and stuff. And so thank you for being here, and thank you for your service, and welcome home, my man.
Thanks for having me.
Jesse.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Yeah.
My name is Jesse Michaelson, and I served 12 years between the National Guard and Active Duty service. I was medically retired out in 2008, and at the time I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I started asking around, and I got involved with a company called Human Resources Development Incorporated, writing training grants for companies. And in doing so, I got involved working with the veteran service organizations and the veterans employment reps as they would send people to be trained for these companies. And just really decided I wanted to work with vets, and that's what I wanted to do. So I kept pestering them about letting me come to work for them. And they finally hired me. And like Norris and like Dave here, I have a passion to serve the veteran community. Both on the business side and on the employment side and the job seeker side.
And to you too, welcome home, and thank you for your service. Yeah, a lot of vets don't realize, or they probably realize that the economy kind of sucks, and it's pretty hard to find a job, and it's very competitive out there. But there are advantages of being a veteran, number one, and then for you employers that are out there maybe happen to watch this, there's some real advantages for you to hire a veteran for a number of reasons, and these gentlemen will explain a couple of programs that they have going on out there. But it's really tough. A vet comes out of the military, you've been doing a high-powered job, you've been responsible for people's lives. It doesn't get any more powerful than that. And then you come home to Muskegon, Michigan, and you try to find some kind of employment, and there's just, boy, it's very limited is what's out there. And I know for a while there we had a program where they were hiring them back overseas, and these guys were going right back over where they came from, but working for a civilian organization simply because it was a job. And that's tough. And those of us who've been in the military as a career and travel around, it's hard on the families. Every time you have to leave that family. And Norris has always joked he was a Navy bachelor, although he was married, because every time he deployed someplace, he was gone for extended periods of time. His family stayed behind. And for 30 years, people think, oh, you got it made, you got a retirement and stuff. But you pay a pretty heavy price for that retirement as far as your family dynamics go and stuff. So anyway, if a veteran walks in, guy just gets out of the military, and he comes down here to the Vet Center, and he says, what are my benefits? What's available for me? And we say, well, what are you looking for? He said, well, I'm looking for a job. What do I do? And so if the guy comes to you, initially, and what does he need to bring with you, Norris, when he comes to see you, and how's it work? That program work with you?
Well, whenever a veteran comes into any of the mission work or come here to for services, one, we tell them to have a copy of their current resume. Now, for services other than basic mission work for development services, services where their funds have to be expended, you will need a copy of a DD-214 upon getting ready to receive funds. So the main thing is to have a resume, and if they don't have a resume, we are there to help them put together that resume, sort of be able to convert many of the military experiences to civilian term, where many of the civilian companies can understand what skill set that this veteran has.
I think a lot of people don't realize that just almost every company now wants that resume. They want to see who you are, where you were, kind of a one-page deal. And I think a lot of people are intimidated by, geez, I'm not a writer. I don't know how to write this up. I barely got through English in school, and you want me to write a resume? But there are programs out here, right, that'll do that. That'll help you if you put your stuff together and then put it in the right format and stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's programs out there. They can either come and see Norris or I, and we'll sit down with the veteran. And like Norris said, we'll help translate that military background into civilian terminology. And in doing so, we can also do some job search or just brainstorming about what careers they could go into if they're unsure of where to go. You know, what do I do with my military experience in the civilian world now? And there's sites like the ONET. They will do a crosswalk that will allow a veteran to take their MOS or their rating or their background and experience, and it'll show them what skills that does translate into. Another thing is that at the Michigan work sites and at a lot of the other workforce sites, there are classes that are available, not just to veterans, but to all people, for resume writing and interviewing skills.
That's important. It's how you come across as an individual. I mean, a lot of people in the military are pretty well trained. I mean, they you know, the discipline was there. You just didn't get through your 4 years in the military without having your stuff squared away. So when you come out, but there's a lot of those jobs in the military that are not transferable. I mean, if you were, you know, a gunner on a particular piece of equipment, or a sniper, or some kind of a job that doesn't relate, then and you've had 4 years of experience with that, you say, well, that's nice that you did that, but that just doesn't compute out here. And so we look at sometimes as being totally retrained, totally retrained. And we know that because they've been disciplined and they have been to schools. You go through basic training, then you go to tech schools, and you learn all these new trades, whatever else. So we know you're trainable. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made it through the military. So if a guy comes in, needs to be retrained, what schooling is there for him? What can they do with that?
Well, you know, there are various programs out there for veterans. One, whenever I come in contact with individuals that need to be retrained, I set them up with a WEIR orientation to see how much funding is available for retraining that person. Now, most veterans, recently separated veterans, they had a Montgomery GI Bill. So we validate him with the Montgomery GI Bill, and then we also look at there's other state agencies that we cohort with and partner with to help this veteran either to get into an apprenticeship program or another training program, something to sort of reinvent that veteran. Yeah,
because I remember the old days, it used to be the one GI Bill, and now there was the post 9/11 GI Bill, then there's the new GI Bill, and there's a lot of benefits there for these guys to go back to school. We're going to have to take probably a quick break. No, we can go a little bit longer? All right, we'll go a little bit longer. The GI Bill then is there's a new GI Bill, and you were talking something that you had information about the new GI Bill, or?
Yes, actually what it is, on November 21st of 2011, President Obama signed into act the Vow to Hire Heroes Act of 2011. And the idea is that there's a very high percentage of unemployed veterans. And the idea is to take these, or to allow these veterans to get some training that will make them more employable. And what it's doing is any veteran that has an other than dishonorable discharge, who's between the ages of 35 and 60 and has been unemployed for at least 6 months, the GI Bill is being reopened to them to go back to school for an additional 12 months.
Wow, that's amazing.
You know, so if it's a simple thing like I have welding experience, but I want to become a certified welder, I just can't afford the class or the
certification
training.
Class. Yeah.
This will pay for that. Other people that are pursuing CDL, driver's license, CDL training, it'll open up that door for them. So whereas the younger generation, or the generation that's just getting out of the service right now and has that 10, 12-year window to use the GI Bill, for those that kind of went beyond that because they got out and they went right into a family or they went right into a career, and didn't think that anything would ever happen. Well, this is really there to help them out.
Yeah, I think in the old days, the old GI Bills, you could get out of, when I was in service in the 60s and you came home, it didn't matter, you could find a job. So you really weren't that worried about going to school and getting retrained, pick a place, there's jobs all over the place. But there was a 10-year window there, and if you didn't use those benefits in 10 years, they expired. The guy said, now I need to be retrained, and I did serve in the military. I did have that GI Bill. I never even used it, but it's lost to me. So this is really super that they've opened this back up. So any of you older vets out there that were served in the military and you got out and did not use your GI Bill, you might want to look into this program, because there's an avenue here for you to get back and get retrained and pick up that certification. And the old GI Bill used to be you had to have a degree of program. I know that for the VA would certify the program, it had to be a degree awarding, whatever else. But now they're saying certificate or licensing, which means a CDL, which is a truck driver's license, is a licensing program. The VA recognizes that, so they pay for it. They pay for it. Cool. Now we will take a break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, so stay tuned. We got some more good information coming to you.